Yeah. Man, it's a beautiful day. We got another beautiful episode of Icons and Ideas. Is yours truly. I go by Nellz, Kaynellz. And as always, I feel it important to engage, talk with the people, kind of bring y'all into my world, and not only that, just bring people on that I think will inspire, aspire, and push the envelope and give everybody that participates, everybody that watches and tune in some perspective. And today I have a magnificent guest, and he's extremely humble, so he always like, yo, you ain't gotta talk like that. But no, I'm gonna definitely give him his flowers while he's here. He's somebody that I consider to be a business mentor. He's an entrepreneur. He's a businessman. And most importantly, he's passionate about the things that he do, and I think that's one of the biggest highlights for me. Without any further ado, my man, go ahead, introduce yourself.
What up? I'm Edwin. Been doing business for about 6-7 years.
Gotcha.
Where I figured out that salary will never take you to where you want to go. You'll be disappointed, unfortunately, and that was one of the lessons I learned a long time ago.
Yeah.
On why I became a business owner and why I've worked and grown my company as much as I have.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha, man. And knowing you the way that I've known you, how we met, and where we are now, I see it firsthand, and that's what I want to do. I know that's what this interview is going to be able to do. It's going to be able to the same thing about you, what I know of you that inspires me to want to be better. I know it's going to resonate. Because here you are now, like you said, you're 7 years in the game in terms of just being what I'll say, just a full-blooded entrepreneur, owning, operating your business, and moving forward. But that's the destination.
Yes.
Let's talk about the journey. Let's talk about the journey, right?
It's been a hard one.
It's been a hard one.
People love
Speak on it.
The first thing people got to understand is that everybody looks at the end game.
Yeah.
The end game is always pretty, but nobody asks this question about where did it start? Where is it going? People will doubt you. People will doubt you 100%. Your closest people, your closest friends, your closest family members will doubt you 100%. But you got to believe. You got to believe in yourself. You'll make mistakes.
Yeah.
And I don't even call them mistakes. I call them learning curve.
Exactly.
Yes, because to me, a mistake it's not a mistake that you made. It's just you just didn't know the process.
If you knew better, you do better.
Exactly.
Yeah.
100%. And that's something that I've been able to grow over time and accept losses, but been able to apply those losses to the next business, which then has grown.
Exactly.
From there. That's why I don't call them mistakes.
Right. Losses are lessons. And it's funny that you speak to that, because one of the, I guess one of the most important analogies that I kind of use to guide my life came from an old Lauryn Hill interview. And she was like, instead of, and I'm paraphrasing, but she was like, instead of looking at it as peaks and valleys, or good times, bad times, or wins and losses, she was like, look at it as study and mastership.
Yes.
While you making these perceived mistakes, and when those losses, that's just studying. You just putting in the work to learn.
That's it.
And then all of those wins, you've mastered the circumstances. And so when you go through life, right, you think of peaks and valleys. Well, those valleys is your study, where you get all of your work in, and those peaks is where you've mastered it. And I guess the goal is to kind of add to that from my own perspective is, as you ascend to a mountaintop, the goal in life is to find new mountaintops every day, because you're going to achieve certain things every day. So I think it's very interesting that, you spoke to that, because that's real. That's an honest perspective.
100%. I call it getting on the horse and getting off the horse.
Yeah.
Just, same exact concept. Is when you're at the peak, you're on the horse. But then you got to be humble enough to, when things don't work out, you just get off the horse and you replan.
Yeah.
And getting off the horse, for me, I'm at the bottom.
Yeah.
But now I'm going to figure out how to take it right back to the top again. Consistency is the key word to this whole interview.
Yeah.
That's a word that you're gonna hear me mention a lot because it's what works.
Gotcha.
If you put it in, you'll get the return back.
Consistency.
For you. Yes.
Consistency is key. So let's go back. Talk to me a little bit about your beginnings. Where you're from? Where are you from originally?
I'm from Boston, Massachusetts.
Okay.
I grew up I was born there, and I grew up there. Always wanted to get out for some reason.
Yeah.
I wasn't a fan of it, even though it treated me very well. I was not a fan of it. I guess the weather eventually just took a beating on me. And one thing that I normally do is I can see things before they happen. In the sense that I can visualize it.
Yeah.
And I visualized that for me, Massachusetts was not going to work because of how expensive it was to actually live there.
Gotcha.
And at that time, I was young.
Right.
And, you know, when you work, and then you end up broke at the end of the week.
Yeah.
You work, and you end up broke again. So it's like, okay, what am I doing wrong? You realize you're not doing anything wrong. It's just that the expenses, you're making less than what your actual expenses are.
Right.
Because of how expensive things are in
You're
that
literally
state.
working to survive.
To survive, yes.
Yeah.
And it came around where I was like, you know what, enough is enough, and I need to get out of here because
Gotcha.
I need to find a better state that will work with me and not work against me.
True indeed.
Yeah.
And so that's a very interesting perspective. And how old were you when you moved from Boston?
I was 30.
30.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you arrived to a point where you was like, you know what? I've exhausted the resources that I have here.
Yes, 100%.
Something has to change.
Yes.
You were able to make that decision in good kind. Okay. Before we get to, your actual transition from Boston into, we'll look at it as phases. If the first phase of your life is in Boston, let's talk about that a little bit more.
Yeah.
What was it like for you growing up in the environment? Was it a good environment? Was it, because I know some people from Boston, and I know like most inner cities, you got your good areas.
Yes.
And then you got your not so good areas.
Yes,
So what was
yes.
it like for you?
Well, for me, first of all, I grew up in a neighborhood. All right, so my parents used to own supermarkets.
Okay.
Throughout the city, and one of the things, they were all in poor areas, unfortunately, because that's where my father can afford to buy them. And I actually used to grow up looking at a lot of things that I don't wish upon anybody because of the areas where we were growing up at. But from there, it taught me a lot.
Yeah.
It taught me a lot.
I'm sure.
Seeing things that I don't want to see today, and things that, make you grow up faster, being a kid.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it sounds like you kind of had like a balance almost, and I'm looking at the glass half full because you had the balance of seeing your parents grind to make it happen.
Correct.
And at the same time, you was in an environment, in an area where that was a privilege afforded to the few.
Yes.
Although in some perspectives, it's not a privilege as much as it is just a willingness on your parents' behalf to just, I gotta plant my feet in the soil and grow something.
Correct.
And that was for you. Okay. So how did seeing both sides of the tracks for you, how did that affect you, either good or bad, knowing that, my parents, they're trying to provide for me, but we right in the, we in the trenches for real.
Yeah. Well, one thing I learned, and I started applying this early in my livelihood, was that I realized that my parents can only teach me as much as they can, because they only have so much experience in life.
Right.
So once I realized that I reached the top capacity of my parents, of how much they can teach me, at that point I realized that I needed to make a difference in actually build a legacy for myself. At that point, and I was young when this all came about. I was still young, but I was like, I don't want to live like my parents live. I want to live better than what my parents live.
Right.
I want to make sure that my kids, when I'm not here, I took them from the middle class American that I grew up being to the 1% class. To me, that was very crucial to make that transition, because I wanted to leave more than what my parents are doing for me.
Gotcha.
And I don't, It's just thinking about it differently.
Right. No, I understand. And to touch on that, it sounds like that's the seeds of entrepreneurship. At what point, at that time, let's take 18, 19-year-old Edwin. Did you think that you were going to be an entrepreneur, that you were going to be a businessman at that time, or it's not an idea that you grew into just yet?
No, actually, yes, it was an idea that I was already thinking about. Okay. Just seeing my dad, gotcha. With all the supermarkets and everything running around the city, it was something that I was like, okay, I like that, but it was not ingrained into me. Yeah. Yet, but I was like, okay, I could do this, but I just need to figure out ways of doing it better than what he's doing. Gotcha. And every time I try to apply things with him, of course, because I'm his son, he was like, hey, shut up, Junior. right. But I stay stubborn. One thing I did was I just stayed focused and said, well, okay, you don't want to use it, that's fine, but I'm going to apply it to myself. Gotcha. And one thing led to another and to another, stuff like that.
Gotcha. So it's safe to assume that your first job, for lack of a better expression, your first job was working
in the family business.
With the family business.
Yes, in the family business.
How was that experience?
Man, it was hard. You can't make them happy. As much as you do, and as much as you work, as much as you try to make things perfect, they'll still find a but and an if on it. And it's parents being parents, and that's great because it teaches you details. That's what it does. Instead of looking at something, now you're paying attention to everything that's in front of you. Yeah. Every little detail. Which one of the crucial things in success is paying attention to details. I've realized that.
Notate that. So it's two things that we touched on already. Consistency, and this is, trust me, everybody that's watching, that will be watching, I want you to be taking notes because I feel like this is free game. Two things that we touched on already. Consistency. He said that's something that you're going to hear. That's a principle that he abide by, that he lived by. And the second thing that I'll highlight is attention to detail. Yes. So if you take notes, take notes on those two things as we proceed forward. So talking about the family business a little bit more, did you reach a point where you and your dad, I guess, outgrew one another in a business aspect? Or how was it like transitioning from working the family business to not working the family business anymore?
Well, it started with, of course, we were starting to outgrow each other because I was getting older and we started bumping heads because I wanted to do things differently for him and he wouldn't allow me to do things differently. Right. Which I was fine with it. At that point, I said, well, you know what? Let me go branch off on my own. Let me go see what I can go do. I said, if I fail, I'll come back and ask you for a job. But you know what? I'm determined. One person I am, I'm consistent. Yeah. And I was like, I know in my mind, I'm not turning back. Gotcha. But I told him that for they can feel good. Yeah. Say, hey, I'm just going to go and test it out in the real world. Yeah. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, I'll be back here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So what was the first thing that you ventured out into once leaving?
It's funny because I was lost at first. I was young. I was lost because all I knew was actually just what my parents had taught me. Yeah. All the way through, through from being little all the way through high school. Now I'm in college. So I knew that I was really good with people. I knew that I was really good connecting with people. And it's funny because a couple of my friends were like, hey, try the car business because you like cars and you like people. Gotcha. I was like, well, okay, I'll go give that a try. It was an adventure. It was nothing I took personal. Yeah. And it blew my mind how it stayed in me for 20 years after that. Yeah.
So it turned into what turned out to be, I guess, tongue in cheek with the homies. Yeah. You said, let me try this. And it worked out. So 20 years.
20 years.
Gotcha.
20 years in sales. And I believe that sales is a key factor to any entrepreneur. You got to be able to learn you got to be able to talk to people and make people feel at ease. When you make people feel at ease, people want to do business with you. Right. Yeah. If you come across too aggressive, if you come across too strong, then people want to back off. Yeah. Everybody has to win in a transaction. If everybody wins in a transaction, you'll do business forever. Yeah. Yeah.
It's definitely important that you say that because sometimes I think, and especially the way the climate is now, when people think transactionally, it's like, especially in the sales environment, it's like I gotta win and you gotta lose.
Correct.
And that's actually the very opposite of how you should engage in transactional business.
Correct.
We should be able to find a way where I win and you win.
Correct.
And everybody is happy with the transaction. I think too often, if you have people that are unhappy, that leave the transaction with, even if it's a little bit of unhappiness, I think you kind of do yourself a disservice, especially when you're in sales.
100%.
Yeah.
The reason is you want people to come back. You want longevity in business. And if you become an entrepreneur, the one thing I'll tell you is you got to put in the hard work, even if you have to lower your value at the beginning for people can get in bed with you.
Right.
Because by you lowering your value and showing people that they're paying for a higher value, they want to continue doing business with you. Even if you come back and say, hey, listen, that first package was just for us, for you can see how I work. Yeah. Now that we're moving forward doing more business, let me show you, what the actual, what my value actually is. Right. And people at that point, people are happy and they pay it. Yeah. 100.
No, that's real. And those principles are universal. Like coming from where I come from, I'm from the neighborhood. So a lot of my family, they were in the streets. I'll just put it that way. And the same philosophies apply. Because when they got a new product, they would not necessarily lessen their value, but in theory, they sending out testers and samplers. Mm-hmm. But the reason why they do that is to say, let me just go ahead. I'm going to lose here because I'm going to take some of the product that I have and let it go and give it away.
That's right. That's right.
Because I know when I give it away, you're going to love it and you're going to come back. And that's a principle that I learned from seeing my family in the streets. But yet here we are, of course, applying it in real time. Yes. In business, in business transactions that you do every day. So I think that's important to highlight as well. And I appreciate that's something that I learned in not only in our interactions, in our conversations, but in the things that I do. Anyway, sometimes, instant gratification says get everything you can get and get it quick. And that's it. You know what I mean? But it's like, okay, then what's next? Exactly. Like, do you want a customer for now or a customer for life?
That's right.
And if you want a customer for life, then it's understanding.
Just think about Amazon. Amazon's in business for their customer. They're not in business for the people that sell their products on Amazon. No. Yeah. If you think about it, Jeff Bezos does not care about the people that are selling for him. Right. He cares about his clients. Yeah. He cares about to make sure that his clients are 100% satisfied. Mm-hmm. If you get one package from Amazon and that package is damaged in whatever way, mm-hmm. you pick up the phone, you call Amazon, within minutes, your money's refunded back to you. Mm-hmm. They don't ask questions. They don't call the vendor. Yeah. Within minutes, done. You know why? Because the vendor should have done a better job. That's mm-hmm. their mindset. Yeah. You want to play at this platform, you're going to play at the top of your game, or every time you screw up, I'm going to make sure to charge you. Gotcha. In which it takes care of why Amazon is so big today, because they take care of their customer.
True indeed. True indeed. Yeah. From that, let's segue into... when did things begin to turn financially for you? Because, just to kind of recap. Yeah. You went from working the family business to saying, you know what, I got to go. I got to spread my own wings. I got to leave the nest. Yes. To kind of initially just dabbling in the idea of, you know what, I'm good with people. I like cars. Let's jump in the car sales. Correct. When did things turn for you? And you're like, you know what, you went from that where you are to that next level financially.
Well, it was... First of all, it started in sales. So I first started making, the first thing I did was, and this is a process that I use now 20 years later. Yeah. So when I got to the first dealership, out of a group of 25 people, mm-hmm. I was number 24 that was picked. So people had no belief. Like the general managers in that room had no belief in me. Yeah. So I'm never going to forget that, because I was like, wow, number 24. Okay. So I left that room with a chip on my shoulder. Is what I did. The first thing I did was, when I got to that dealership, was I started researching who were the top 3 salespeople in that dealership. So I did all my research, and once I did that, I turned around and I started serving them. I started saying, hey man, how can I help you? Yeah. They're looking at me weird, because it's not a random question you ask at a dealership. Right. And they were like, well, I don't need no help. I said, no. You do need help. Who gasses up your cars? who takes your cars to cleanup? And they were like, oh, ourselves. I said, well, let me do it. Well, I'm not paying you for it. I said, you don't need to pay me for it. You just need to let me sit at the table of negotiation with you.
Yeah.
Because I want to learn how you do it.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did was for 6 months, I surrounded myself with them three, the three top guys. And I used to bounce from one table to another table to another table. But I was learning on how three of the best salespeople negotiate and then implement it into myself.
Mm-hmm.
6 months down the line, then I said, okay, now it's my turn to leave that nest and actually start growing.
Gotcha.
Until today's day, I still apply that same method with every business that I own. I surround myself with really good people.
Mm-hmm.
I learn from them, and then I take off from there.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And that's in one way, even before the carbon. I realized listening to you talk about that, it seemed like it's in your nature. And the reason why I say that is because you talk about, that being when you implemented it, but even some of the stories in talking about your transition from working with the family, you were essentially doing the same thing. You came, sat next to your father, you learned what you can, and you got to a point where it was like, okay, I got to spread my wings.
That's right.
And you did that.
Yeah.
And then it was the next thing.
Yes.
And then you was like, you know what? All right, I'm gonna learn what I can, and then I'm gonna spread my wings. And then now you went from being number 24 on the list.
Yeah, to 20 years to becoming. I went all the way up the ladder on the chain of command in a dealership. So I went from sales to becoming a manager, to becoming a finance person, to becoming a general sales manager.
Yeah.
And at that point, I stopped because I realized that the higher up I was going, the more risk of me getting fired was on board.
Right.
So I was like, you know what? I don't want to get to the top and then get fired and then have to start bouncing around.
Right.
So I held it off at the GSM position and just maintained it from there, from dealership to dealership that I worked for.
Yeah.
But earlier, just going back to the question you asked me, my transition in money came in where I started becoming more successful was every time on sales, I would get a bigger paycheck and a bigger paycheck.
Yeah.
And I realized that there's more money. Every time I got a bigger paycheck, it was like, to me, it's like, hey, there's more money out here. So if I work harder, in return, I'm going to get more money.
Right.
And that's what I started doing. I started just working harder and harder and harder. And then the result was, at the end of the week on Fridays, the bigger the paycheck, the bigger the paycheck, the bigger the paycheck. So it was a steady growth. It wasn't like I just went from here to here. No, it's been a steady growth for me.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And that's, consistency.
Consistency.
Like you said.
Yes, 100%.
Consistency for sure, and just applying those principles.
Yes.
That's real powerful. That's real powerful. Because as I'm sitting here listening, it's like, that's the repetition. Like, greatness is about repetition. Yes. I think of people like, when you studying great people, I think of Kobe Bryant and the interviews and stuff that I would listen and hear him talk about, or Michael Jordan, or, to use athletes, or even to branch outside of that and just look at entertainment. Somebody like Denzel Washington, who talked about discipline and consistency. Yeah. Or Will Smith, who said, I'm not the best, I work the hardest.
That's right.
So I hear some of those same sentiments echoed, and that tells me that they're universal principles. It's something that greatness gets, that clicks, and then you just walk in it, right?
Correct.
And then you seem to reap the benefits from top to bottom. You see.
Yes.
in everything that you do.
Correct. I agree with you. One of the things that I've noticed is that anytime I start a new business, as long as I apply the same principles to it, it doesn't matter what industry, and that's something that we'll get into a little bit later on about the formula of success. It's that every industry across the board is the same.
Yeah.
So it requires the same thing. It requires the business to the formula of making it successful.
Yeah.
It requires consistency, and it requires paying attention to details. Those three things have taken me from me being homeless all the way to becoming a millionaire.
Yeah. And that's a perfect segue, because that's what I want to talk to you about, right? Because one thing that I said I wasn't going to do, I was going to keep it real. And one way I'm going to keep it real is, we talk about the wins, or we talk about the peaks, we talk about mastership. Let's talk about study.
Yeah.
So what were some of the mistakes that you made in this, that you might can pinpoint that taught you valuable lessons?
Yes.
That kind of keep you navigating wisely even now in your journey.
Oh man. Number one, the first thing I learned, and I learned this probably when I was about 21, 22 years old, is you have to give back.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter who you give back to. You can give back to the guy on the at the corner that needs, a little bit of help. It doesn't matter that he's an alcoholic. It doesn't matter that he's a drug addict. Whatever it's going to keep him going with that $10, with that $5 that you give him, give it to him.
Yeah.
Because the universe will return that back to you.
Yeah.
And it started as simple as and I'm never going to forget this. I'm at the gas station one day. This homeless guy came up to me and says, "If I pump your gas, will you pay me $1?" And I was like, "Sure, why not?" He pumped my gas. I gave him the $1. He turns around and he says to me, make sure you play your tag tonight." I said, "What?" He says, "Make sure you play your tag tonight in the lottery."
Yeah.
I was like, okay. I was young at that time, I wasn't thinking about the lottery or any of that.
Right.
But I was like, you know what? Let me just try it. So I went, I played my tag. I hit for like $700. It was the most mind-blowing thing in the world because I was like, how did this just happen? I would have never played it if someone never told me to do it. And from there, a couple other scenarios, similar scenarios kept happening where I will give in abundance.
Yeah,
will come right
karma.
back.
Instant karma.
Yeah, and ever since that, that's one thing that I do is I always help people that need help.
Yeah.
And I always give because I have noticed that the universe that we live in, the more you give it, the more it gives back to you.
Right.
Yes.
And planting seeds are important.
Yes.
I mean, the universe, I always tell people the universe believes in reciprocity.
Correct.
But again, that is universal. So if you sow in seeds of good, you'll reap a harvest of good. If you sow in seeds of bad, you'll surely reap a harvest of bad. That's why it's very important that you're conscious of the decisions that you make and how you lead your life. And that's really a test of character, because it's not what you do when everybody is watching. It's what you do when nobody is watching.
That's right. And that's when because someone's always going to be watching.
Yeah.
So that's why I always never steal.
Right.
Because somebody's going to catch you eventually.
Yeah.
Don't do something bad because someone's going to see it and tell on you. So the one thing I could tell people is just do what you would do if you were always by yourself. If you're always in front of people, So if you're always in front of people and you want to show them the best person that you are, also do that when you think that nobody's watching.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And so at what point did you decide to bet on yourself? To say, I'm gonna even take it to another level. You've seen success at high levels in the automotive sales industry, and now it's like, I guess did you arrive to a crossroad, a wall? What was that like for you?
Well, let's first go to where I was at my worst.
Okay.
Because that was the turning point in my life. It was, I believe it was either 2000. So I got into the car business. I started doing extremely well. The recession came in 2007, 2008.
Correct.
I hit rock bottom. Because I had signed up for a humongous mortgage with high interest rates. It was a balloon payment. It was the worst decision I've ever made, but I was stubborn. And I didn't want nobody to review my contracts because I thought I was doing it all right.
Yeah.
Come to find out, I was not. I was doing it all wrong.
You was doing it all wrong.
And that bank took me to the cleaners.
Gotcha.
I had to bankrupt on that house. I foreclosed.
Yeah.
I did a short sale on that house, but I knew that they did me wrong because that company at the time was taking advantage of minority people.
Yeah.
And I knew that, but I was too young to actually do anything about it at that particular time. So back at that time, I remember, I'm never going to forget the one night that I was at the gas station and I pumped gas with quarters.
Yeah.
That was the moment where rock bottom became reality for me. That was the moment where I was like, enough is enough.
Right.
I am never going to pump gas with quarters again.
Right.
And from there, I decided, okay, you know what? Massachusetts is not going to work for me because I can't live here. I need to find a better place to go live at. And from there, I moved out here to Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
And from here, it's when I started slowly. I was homeless when I got here.
Yeah.
I used to sleep in my car, sleep in extended stays, showers at the gym.
Yeah.
That was my life for about 90 days.
Right. So you came down here knowing that you were sacrificing every level of comfort that you ever thought you had. Like you knew that, okay, I'm coming down here, but that was the leap. That was the leap of faith.
Correct.
That you decided to take because
correct.
Boston wasn't doing it for you no more.
It wasn't. I was everything that I was trying. I was crashing.
Gotcha.
Their system is very different. Their system is not to help minorities. It's to, unfortunately, I feel that way.
Yeah.
So from there, I landed here because of a friend of mine at that time invited me to his wedding. And as soon as I got here and I looked around, Georgia, Atlanta, I was like, man, this is pretty. Yeah. This is real pretty.
Right.
And from there, I said, you know what? I don't have a job. I don't have money, but I don't have nothing to lose. And I packed my car.
That's powerful.
Yeah, I packed my car.
I ain't had a job. I ain't had money, but I ain't had nothing to lose.
Nothing to lose. And I drove down here.
That's real.
Yeah, man.
That's real.
It's as real as it gets. That's for sure.
But that was a refining time for you.
It was. It was definitely a refining time for me. And it was tough because I had never been so uncomfortable in my life. Because now I left all my family. I was here by myself. I didn't have anybody besides one friend. And this one friend, his wife was like, hey, Edwin, you've been here for about 60 days. You got to go.
Right.
And I was like, oh, damn. Okay.
Right.
I wasn't ready to span my wings
yet. Right.
But you know what? I had pride. And I said, you know what? It's okay. I get it. I'm not mad at you.
Yeah.
I just got to do what I got to do.
Right.
And at that time, after I went through my struggle, trying to figure it out, slowly, I went back to the basics. I started applying focus. I started applying consistency. And I went back into the car business. I went back in it, even though I didn't want to do it. But at that point, it's like, okay, I got to rely on what my skill set is.
Gotcha.
While I figure out what I'm doing wrong.
What I'm going to do. Yeah.
And from there, that is when my success really started taking off.
Yeah.
Because coming from Massachusetts with the mentality of, New York mentality, Northern mentality.
That Northeast. The Northeast hustle is different.
Yes. So I started applying it as soon as I started working at a dealership. It's funny because people, it goes back to, I apply the same thing that I've been applying. So as soon as I started working in this dealership, the first thing I did was I told all the salespeople, bring me your cash deals. Everybody was like, what? I was like, bring me your cash deals. For the first months, I want to run everybody's cash deal.
Yeah.
Everybody thought I was crazy. Nobody realized that what I was doing is I'm taking the salespeople and actually making them my friend.
Yeah.
And understanding what their problems are and understanding how I can help them.
Yeah.
And after 30 days, after every other finance person in that dealership was making fun of me, making fun of my numbers, because I was running extremely low numbers at that time.
Right.
After 30 days, I pretty much said, okay, Edwin, now it's your turn. Let's go.
Right.
And within a year, I took over that dealership.
Same formula.
Yeah, same formula. Yep.
Same formula.
I had every salesperson that loved me at that point, where they would just bring me their deals, just like you used to do it.
Yeah.
And from there, I applied it. Within a year, I took over that finance department.
Yeah.
And took it straight to the top. And I worked for him. I worked for about a good 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Great mentor. Scott was a great mentor for me.
Gotcha.
Scott took me from what I knew and really, he took that rough diamond and really shined it.
Yeah. And that's the perfect segue, because that's what I was going to ask you. So who was your mentors? Because in a lot of ways, you're very cerebral. Like you assess the situation and you observe, like literally like you're always watching. You're keened in, right? And then you're learning, and then you reach a point like, all right, let's go.
Let's go.
So who was that? How did you find your mentors, and who was your mentors through these times?
So my dad was the mentor that taught me how to be able to assess things really fast and learn them. So I started with him teaching me that. Then when I got here to Georgia, Scott Whiteman was one of my GMs at the time.
Okay.
And when he hired me, he didn't know this, but I barely knew how to rehash a deal at a bank.
Right.
Because the prior job that I had prior to that would not let me rehash. my job was just to sign up people and go, sign up people and
Gotcha.
go. So he did not know that I had never picked up the phone and talked to a banker.
A lender, yeah.
At that point, he taught me. He taught me by pretty much, you know, he taught me a couple times, and then, of course, my quick thinking kicked in.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was one of my mentors for about 5 years. And I remember I used to always say, man, does he hate me? Because he used to scream at me all the time. And the people that knew him at that time were like, no, as long as he's screaming at you, it means he likes you.
Yeah,
so I was like, okay, let's go. You can start screaming all you want.
Right.
He was one of my greatest mentors. One of my second greatest mentors was Steve Raymond. Steve Raymond himself. He taught me. He was the last mentor that I had, and he showed me that the way that I was doing things is the right way. In the sense of, you don't have to beat up your employees.
Yeah.
You don't have to pay your employees less money.
Yeah.
The more money you pay your employees, the happier they're going to work for you, the more they want to work for you.
100%.
That is what that was the key that I needed to confirm what I was doing was right.
Yeah. And it's funny that you say that, because I think that's the biggest misconception in any business that's front-facing consumer type business, or any business. They always taught this old ideology that the customer's always right. Please the customers. And to me, that didn't make any sense, because most of the times you would please the customers at the expense of your employees.
Correct.
And I just always felt like, well, if you make sure that your employees are in an environment that they enjoy working in, that they enjoy being in, they will make sure that they take care of your customer.
That's right.
As a thank you to you.
That's right.
And so I felt like when you implement it at that level, you'll see those types of results.
Yes.
And even before I got into the car business, when I was working in retail, that's one thing, that me and the supervisors that I work with, that was a consistent concept that we had in mind. Like, no, we gonna make sure the team is good. Make sure everybody is enjoying themselves when they're here. And we was making crumbs in retail.
Yeah.
But everybody enjoyed coming in until they didn't anymore. Yeah. And then, you move on to the next thing. But I think that was important. As long as everybody that was there and everybody is in your business, your employees are taken care of.
Yes.
They will 100% take care of your customers. And that's taken care of financially, but more so taken care of personally, in a sense that there's a real connection. It don't have to be so fake. Yeah. Like, you could confidently say, hey, how the wife doing? How the fam? How the kids? And it's a genuine conversation. It's not like, you just get out my face. It's like, a genuine connection, because then it becomes something different. And I think that's one thing that I had with you. And that's one thing that I had with Terrence.
Good.
Yeah, in terms of the management that I was under when I was having those conversations and talking to you guys. You know what I mean? Like, you two definitely stood out to me.
And that's one thing, like, one of the things that I apply the most, and I still apply it, is I used to always take care of my salespeople, as you know. Yeah. Always. It didn't matter if it was a good deal, if it was a bad deal. I felt that your money was more important than my money. Because I wanted to make sure that you, the person that's giving me the business, is completely satisfied with it, in which is what I apply now to all my employees, is that, number one, I make sure that I pay them very well, because I don't want it all. I really don't, because people that want it all, people that are greedy, will only grow so much in this world.
Right.
For you to really become a legacy, you have to surround yourself with people that appreciate you, number one, with people that believe in you, number two, and people that you take care of, that everybody eats off this tree. Because there's enough money and there's enough fruits on this tree.
Exactly.
One thing I tell people is, people say to me all the time, how is it that you make money just sitting at your house? And I tell people, I said, because I look at money as the ocean. Okay. While you show up at the ocean with a little bucket every day, I show up at the ocean with 18 wheelers.
Right.
Fill them up with water. Let's go.
Yeah.
Because the money's there. If you stretch out your arms long enough, money will stick to you. It doesn't matter what you're doing. and it's a reality. And people for some reason can't see it, but it's a reality. If you think about it hard enough up here, money becomes real.
Yeah, you manifest it.
You manifest it 100%. You do, yeah.
And then seeing it before we get into the business that you have now and the things that's motivating you every day to get up and grind the way you do and handle business the way you do. I just wanted to go back to a point that you was talking about where I find a lot of parallels, where you say you looked up and you was putting gas in your car with change.
Yeah.
And one thing that I know, everybody that has seen a level of success in what they do have that pivotal moment for them where it clicked. I remember for me in 2012, that was a very transitional time for me. That was actually when I got into the car business. And before I was working in retail, I was working at Dick's Sporting Goods. And I learned that at this point, I've been working with them for 3 years almost. And I learned that I wasn't a full-time employee. I was a kid. I didn't care. I was getting the hours. It translated on my paycheck. That's all that mattered to me. But as I look up, I was realizing my duties was changing. The things that I was doing was changing. And then we had the supervisor in my department. He moved out of the country, he and his wife. So now there's a vacancy for the supervisor position. And I was already doing the role anyway. I was already doing all of the duties of the supervisor. So at that point, I asked the management, like, yo, y'all should consider me for that lead position, for that supervisor position. And it was like, then that's when I learned, like, no, I wasn't even a full-time employee. I was technically a part-time employee. And the reason why they did that, I later learned, is because a part-time employee, they don't have to provide health care and things like that. Now, this is pre the Affordable Health Care Act and leading up to what became the Affordable Health Care Act. So as long as I was a part-time employee, they would put me on a schedule for 40 hours a week, but they didn't have to provide benefits. Also, when I worked holidays, they didn't have to pay me holidays because I'm part-time and not full-time, and paid holidays is full-time. So it's little things like that. And I realized, and I'm learning, I'm reading now, the biggest expense for any company is what? Payroll. So if they can do whatever they need to do to keep payroll down, they will, because that helped maximize their bottom line when in terms of turning profit every year. So when they didn't give me the position. So I said, okay, the least you could do with everything I do is just make me full time. And they wouldn't do that. And then not only did they not do that, it was around the wintertime. What they do is they hire a lot of people around the Christmas time because of the rush. Yeah. So they then started cutting my hours, and that's something that they never did before. So I went to my manager and I said, yo, look, I don't play these types of games. I've been here for some time. My hours has been consistent now for this amount of time. I don't want to see anything less than 35 to 40 hours on the schedule. And, I talked with him and we came to an understanding. I thought the next schedule come out 20 hours. So, and it's like at this point, my responsibilities is changing because now I'm helping out with my dad more at the place. My parents, they're going through a separation and all of that. So what I make now contributes to the house. So it's like I'm looking at things a lot differently now. And so I was like, all right, I ain't even say nothing to him. I just started filling out applications. And I promise you, E, I don't even remember filling out an application for a dealership. But I filled out an application for a sales position at a dealership. And I get a call from this is a dealership off of 78, O'Brien Hyundai. Yes. Now O'Brien is big in the Midwest. This was their first dealership. They was moving to the South. Oh. So they bought they getting in, want to test the Atlanta market. It's a vacancy. And so I get a call. I never forget the GSM was Jason Pies. And I'm thinking, because my dad, my dad had a collision repair business. He worked on cars. That's what he did, collision repair and paint. So I've been around the body shop. I'm confident. So I'm thinking I'm applied for a detail position or something like that. Like, you know what I mean? Something around the dealership. And so he's interviewing me and he asking me all of these different questions, and the interview is going good. But in my mind, I'm thinking like detail or something. I'm not thinking sales at all. And he, I had no formal sales experience, and he offered me the position right there. He said, I want you on my team for sales. And I was like, sales? I didn't know that. He was like, no, I really think that you would be good at this. And so he was the first, Jason Pies was the first person that believed in me, right? In the car business. But in seeing that, I'm transitioning now because the dealership is being built. So because the dealership is being built, it's a little gap in time between like November and December of 2012. So I finally get hired. I get the official hire in November, but now I kind of got to wait in limbo. I ain't really making no money or anything like that. I start in December. We start the training at the dealership. And now I'm really trying to put these little crumbs that I got together. And I remember going to, before this interview, I took literally like my last 10, I think it was like $10, $15. I couldn't even afford a full haircut, but I was like, I gotta be clean for the interview, so I'm gonna just get them line me up real nice, make me look, you know what I mean? Presentable. But in that moment, I told myself, I'm never gonna feel this feeling ever again. Like ever. I'm never, ever, ever gonna spend the last of my money ever again. And I feel confident that from 2012 till now, I've been able to be motivated by that creed that I made to myself, and not find myself in a position where I absolutely don't have and I'm spending my last. But I feel like in the moment I was rewarded because I went to that interview and he hired me on the spot, and I didn't even know what I was getting into, right? And at the same time, I'm reading a book by Paulo Coelho called The Alchemist. And I'm reading The Alchemist during this time. I'm catching MARTA because I'm staying down. Me and my homie got a spot at Piedmont now. I'm catching MARTA, and then my cousin would pick me up from the MARTA station and take me to the dealership. I don't even have a car, nothing at the time. And I'm reading it, and this book is talking about how nothing in your life is for happenstance. Everything, no matter how minute, is a smaller piece to a bigger picture. Mm-hmm. You may not see it in real time, but you'll be able to look back and see how everything connects.
Stepping stones.
Yes, sir. And Jason Pies hired me into the car business. And had it not been for him, we wouldn't be sitting right here having this conversation, because where did I meet you? Yes, in the car business. Mm-hmm. So the importance of not only just understanding that, but the parallels of reaching that turning point where you say, you know what? I'm never going to find myself in this position again. And then put in the work. That's the key. Because a lot of people make declarations and then they don't work. Yes. Making a declaration and then working to see that what you said, it comes to fruition. And I think that was a prime example. I wanted to share that part of my story. So, you know, like, it was a prime example. It resonated with me so much when you say, I took these coins and I put the last little bit of gas in my car, and I said, never again. Never again.
I remember it was a cold night, man. It was nighttime. It was a cold, cold night.
Yeah.
And I had scrapped up the change. And I was like, you know what? I said, today is the last day that I'm going to feel this particular way. And from there, one thing I've learned with time is manifesting.
Yeah.
Manifesting to me is humongous. Reason why is if you think about something hard enough, it becomes real.
Yeah.
That is a proven fact. And I don't understand why people don't apply it more often, because it is a proven fact that if you sit there and you focus hard enough on it, it will, and it's everything. It's from money to success.
It starts with a thought.
It starts there. It starts there, and it just grows. And as long as you have a vision of where you're going, it becomes real easy. Yeah.
100%. And just to piggyback off that, it is 100% right. Denzel Washington said, true desires of the heart for anything good is God's proof to you sent beforehand to let you know that it's yours already.
Yeah.
The fact that you can even conceptualize an idea is God saying that it can be yours.
Yes.
Now what you going to do with it? You know what I mean? You got the idea. It can be yours. Make it happen. And the breakdown usually comes, you understand how to visualize and then actualize.
Yes.
Most people can visualize. They have trouble actualizing.
Write it down. That's the key to it. Write it down somewhere where you can look at it every day.
Gotcha.
The first thing I did was I wrote down 300 things that I wanted to see throughout my lifetime.
Gotcha.
So
300, that's a big number. 300.
Let me tell you, about 75.
300.
When you get to number 75, your brain's gonna lock on you at 75 because your brain's gonna be like, stop, what are you doing? We're not built this way.
Yeah.
But you gotta just consistently every day just add to that list till you get to 300. Once you get to 300, go back to the number 1, and just every day just read it. Read it in the morning and read it at night. Read it in the morning and read it at night. Your list. And I promise you, within 1 year, you'll knock out at least 15 things on that list.
Yeah.
Minimum, by just manifesting it. So
That's real.
It's really crucial, and it's simple little things that I try to tell everybody that I come in contact with. Just apply these simple things and believe in it. You got to believe in it.
The power is in the belief.
Yes. Yeah.
Believe.
Whatever religion you are, it doesn't matter. You're still manifesting in this universe.
Right.
We're here in this universe. We're just traveling. That's all we are.
Yeah.
I mean, people always say to me, "Hey, are you scared when you die?" No, because I don't know what happened before I was born. I'm not gonna know what happens after I'm dead.
That's a very good perspective. Shoot, I ain't know what I was doing before I got here. I ain't gonna worry about what I'm doing when I leave. No, that's
exactly.
Real.
And that's one of the things that I live by. I live by that. I believe that we are here in this world to stamp our time of the century that I'm here.
Yeah.
So for the century that I'm going to be here, I want to make sure that I put my name somewhere where people can read about me and read, or my grandkids or my great-great-grandkids
right.
make an impact on them. And that's the reason why I have worked so hard. And now that I believe and I have a passion, this is why things have continued growing for me. Yeah.
And now here we are. So let's talk about what you have going on now.
Oh, man.
Right? Because, you hit my line. I'm going to set the stage. You hit me up on Facebook first. Yo, we got to talk.
Yes, sir.
And then we chat and you like, yo, I peep everything that you be doing on social media. Like, I love it. How can I be instrumental? That was like the first conversation that we had. And in that conversation, we started talking about legacy.
Yes.
I remember, like, that was literally the first conversation that we had. And having something and creating something that transcends the here and now.
Yes.
Right? That for our children's children. And that was the first conversation that we have. And it was like, we kind of made an agreement in that moment. I don't care what I need to do. Like, I'm going to help you wherever I can.
Yes.
And it was like, I don't care what I need to do. I'm a part of whatever you're doing.
Yes.
Whatever role you see for me, I'll play it. And we were able to create that understanding. And now here we are, right?
Yes.
This wonderful idea. So I have to ask you, what the F is X, man? What is X?
So I'm going to go back a little bit before I answer you what's X. So it all started about 5 years ago when I realized that I was unhappy in the car business.
Okay.
I had outgrown the car business. That's what it was.
Yeah.
At that time, even though I was still working there, I decided to open up my construction company.
Okay.
Yeah, which is J&E Restoration, J&E Enterprise and Restoration Pros.
Yeah.
So I started that up, and it was really small. It was it couldn't pay a bill, to be honest with you. But I had it there, and it was like my little baby.
Right.
From me then leaving the actual car business, I decided to get in front of it and say, you know what? The process that everyone has taught me, let me implement it into my own company and see if it really works. There goes the formula again. I implemented it, and I went. It took off like a rocket on me. It outgrew me faster than what I could say hello. I was like, whoa, where's this thing going? Right. And all it was I found myself good people. I did exactly what I used to do, which is, hey, I pay you a little bit more above what the market is actually saying that you're worth, but I want your talent. And in return, I ended up with beautiful projects at the end. When people were delivering projects to me, they were beautiful. And that's when I realized that the formula does work.
Yeah.
from there was a problem with that we still own the company and we're still doing great, but I noticed that my wife and our son really did not care about construction.
Right.
It personally bothered me.
Gotcha.
Because they're like, hey, that's cool.
Right.
Go for it. Knock yourself out.
Right.
And it's great because it pays the bills. It brings in cash flow. It does what it has to do. I enjoy it because I love seeing where there's nothing, and then I love seeing the end result when I deliver.
Right. You're a visionary.
Yes. And to me, that company, I started it from nothing into I grew. So it was like I was at the end, and I was like, man, but they're not happy.
Right. At
that point is when I called you, because the universe started talking to me and saying, you've done enough. The first 40 years was all about Edwin.
Yeah.
Going forward, I believe that the average person lives 80 years.
Yeah.
So
that's what they say.
So me being 40 means I'm at the halfway point of my life.
Right.
If I make it to 90, great. If I make it to 70, hey, I accept it.
Right.
But at least I know that 80 is my final.
Right.
So I had to sit down. So on my birthday, this all happened on my birthday. I sat down, and I told my wife and my son, I said, please leave me alone. I said, for the next 2 days, all I want is 6 meals. Let me sit down. I got to brainstorm. I have to brainstorm because I have a lot of junk up here.
Yeah.
That it's not letting me get clear on what I have to do.
Right.
So I asked him, I said, I want to meditate, and I just give me these 48 hours to myself, please.
Right.
And they did. They did exactly what I asked them to do. And for 48 hours, all I did was I sat quietly in a room, and I thought about life, and I thought about how I made it from being broke to a millionaire. And it was a great journey, like I told you.
Yeah.
But I was like, okay, there was really no plan besides me just hustling.
Right.
So I was like, I don't want to live my next 40 years without a plan.
Yeah.
I said, this time around, I want to do it different. I want to do it better than what I did.
Right.
At that point, I realized that if I wanted to do that, I had to find a company that I can tie my wife and my son and the people that have supported me through this journey. And that's how X Entertainment came up, because X Entertainment was built not for me. It was built for the people that I love, the people that I care for, the people that gave me a hand. And when I look back, I realized they're good people. They just don't have the formula.
Right.
So it's not fair for me just to keep walking, because when you're a friend, not a stepping stone.
Right.
Me. And that's why I picked up the phone and I called you.
Yeah.
For X, because the people that I didn't call, they were stepping stones.
Yeah.
To get me to where I got. But the ones that I did reach out to were not stepping stones. They were actually people that you touched my heart in one way or another. Yeah. Without you realizing it, and without me realizing it at that particular moment. Yeah. It's crazy, man. But yes, that's how X. What the fuck is X came up. Right. And it's a great company. It's a company that we're gonna evolve and change the industry. Gotcha. Because I feel that with the tools that I have in my toolbox, can really change the way that the industry right now is being run. It's simplifying the process of what the industry is doing. The more I look at the industry, the more gaps I see in it that nobody's paying attention to. Yeah. And to me, that's what I do best, is I fill in the gaps. Yeah. But no, X is it's going to be amazing. It's going to grow drastically. Right. Drastically.
So would you describe it as like an entertainment conglomerate? Like how would you, if you had to look, this is our world now. Your elevator pitch, right?
Yeah.
How would you elevate a pitch X, or what the is X?
X is a talent company that recruits talent.
Okay.
We brand people.
Okay.
And we take the rough diamond.
Yeah.
We buff them.
Yeah.
We buff them. We brand them. By buffing them, it means I'm branding you.
Yeah.
Then I serve you to the bigger clients.
Yeah.
So to me, what X is, it's a talent branding agency.
Gotcha.
That's what it is to me.
Gotcha.
Where I meet people like yourself and other many great people that have the great talent.
Mm-hmm.
They just don't have the power, or they just don't understand the process of actually being branded into these other companies.
Exactly. So it's a bridge almost.
It's a bridge.
It's a bridge. You
Yes.
take that same diamond, to stay true to your metaphor.
Yes.
You find it as a rock.
Yes.
Polish it up, put a little pressure on it, make sure that it's ready, shining, and then you say, I have this beautiful diamond for you.
Correct.
To the respective clientele.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Correct.
Gotcha. Talk a little bit about the merch, because you do, the shirt is fire when I seen it.
Thank you.
It's looking good.
Thank you.
You guys, I know it's, in a way, it's in its infancy stages.
Yes.
But the upside is ridiculous, and the growth has been exponential even at this point. So
it has been.
Just touch a little bit on that.
It's been great, man. Everybody that we touched so far it's mind blown by it, because it's a refreshing taste in the industry.
Yeah.
And most importantly, it's a company that's gonna help. It simplifies everything, from the simple of when we take over a company that's in the music industry, any record company that we take over, we're going to offer them packages to where they can do their merch through us. They can do their marketing through us. They can do their branding for all their artists through us.
Yeah.
So and we'll do all the filming and everything. So I'm simplifying the process of what these companies are going through right now.
Yeah.
Having 100 vendors to figure out the 100 things that have to be done. Now it's all done in one place.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It's so funny, because when I got into this industry, I didn't realize the amount of connections that I had already. That's been building in my actual phone, and that's how we were able to have so fast so much access to so many things that we do, because of all the bridge that I had connected to.
Right.
And it's crazy, because during that time, I was wondering, why am I meeting this millionaire?
Right.
This guy and I are never going to do business. And now it's like, oh, this is why we met.
Exactly.
We met because you own a private jet, and now I need it.
Yeah. You're a personal legend. Like I said, going back to the alchemist, you didn't know you all of these little stepping stones, all of these little connected pieces.
Correct.
You didn't know until you look up now, and you like, hindsight is 2020. I see the purpose in all of these connections that you made, and that seemed to be kind of like a universal theme for your life.
Yeah.
You really having everything that you need without really recognizing. Something catalyzes it.
Yes.
Whether it's dad and you saying, well, I think I've reached a point where I got to branch out.
Yeah.
Or whether it's your friend saying, well, you're good at this, try this. Whether it's like everything that you need, you seem to already have is something, an experience catalyzes the revelation that makes you say, you know what, I'm gonna do this.
Yeah.
And then and this is no different.
No.
So it's funny, but the formula is really a big part of your existence. Like this idea of this formula, this concept that you have and that you operate in. It's literally the foundation for how you move day to day.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. One thing I always tell Jasmine, my wife, is that I was sent here to teach. I'm a teacher at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Because I have a big heart, and I give back, as you always seen it, in whichever way that I can give back. So I've categorized myself that I was sent here to give back.
Yeah.
To give back all the knowledge that I was able to gather, because my knowledge comes from experience. My knowledge does not come from me reading. Reading has magnified and has made
expound.
Me expand. Yeah. But everything to the hardcore is because I walked it.
Yeah.
And to me, that's crucial to be able to walk that, and to be able to give people like yourself and many other people in the audience, is that try to walk or try to learn from people that actually have walked it, because those are the people that are going to tell you the truth, and they're going to tell you, where you're going to hit the wall at, and that kind of stuff. Yeah.
And that's something that you said to me that kind of stuck out as we kind of, bring it to a close. You said, just basically talking about the power of your experiences and how you lead your life based off of how you live, not what you read.
Yes.
And I think that's definitely important, because it's one thing to be able to sit and read and sharpen your knife, but what good is a sharpened knife that's never used?
Correct.
The experience is so important, and I think you kind of, in our previous conversation, you was just explaining to me the balance of just living it, and
Yeah.
and adding to your tool belt as you live through these experiences and growing there. We'll definitely, I'll post all of the social media outlets for
Yeah. No.
the brand and things like that. But I want to give this time to you to kind of leave the people with something. If,
Yeah.
if it's a message that you want to say, if you just want to promote what the fuck is X and go from there. But
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
I give you the floor.
the first thing is that I want to just tell everyone is the key to success. It's up here. It's in your mind. It's not what your wallet has. It's not who you think you are. You are who you want to make yourself be.
Yeah.
That's the most important. Number two, consistency. Consistency is a big key factor on what you do. Whatever you decide to do, believe in it. Don't chase it for the money.
Yeah.
Chase it because it's going to change your life in
Believe in
one way or another. But yeah, believing in it is crucial.
Yeah.
Consistency in paying attention to detail. It's very, very crucial, because you'll find that's what separates you from everybody, is the person that's going back and saying, well, that's wrong, should have done it this way, or how can we improve on this particular thing.
Yeah.
The third thing that I would tell people is you only have to be right once. It is so true. You could be wrong 100, 1,000 times. Don't give up, because all you got to do is be right once. And then once you're right on it, all you have to be right is right here in the gut. As long as the gut is telling you,
trust that intuition.
Trust it. Put your head down and just plow, because that's the one that you feel right here in the gut. It's the one.
Yeah.
And believe it, do it. And pretty much that's what I will say that has changed me from the person who I was 10 years ago when I was homeless to the person who I am now.
Right.
It's just believing in the gut and believing in that this can work and this is going to work.
Yeah.
Visualize it. You have to visualize it to be really able to see it. But you guys can follow us on What the Fuck is X, hashtag What the Fuck is X. And it's a great company. It's going to be a great platform for entrepreneurs who are trying to get ahead in this industry, but don't have the tools.
Right.
Have half of the tools, but are missing the other half. Let it be on the business structure.
Right.
Let it be on the funding.
Yeah.
Let it be on the equipment.
Right.
We're here to close that gap and to help you excel to what you actually want to do.
Yeah.
Through a partnership. Right. Yeah, a partnership that has been proven over and over that it works.
Yeah, and it's mutually beneficial. I think that's the biggest thing. One thing, the most powerful thing that you said to me in our conversations that I was telling you about when we first started on this part of our journey, you said the first 40 years was about me. Yeah. The next 40 years is about the seeds that I can plant and other gardens that I can water. Yes. And I think that's just extremely powerful. And I think because that's the mentality that you're operating from. And another thing you said to me, you said, the first 40 years I was here. The next 40 years I'm here.
Yes, sir.
So just that transition from, doing it from your heart, I know you're going to be, the reward is in and of itself, as you spoke to earlier.
Yeah.
The universe is going to reward you instantly.
Yes.
And immediately. And it's definitely a pleasure. I'll continue to learn from you and watch you as we build and as we grow. I appreciate what you're doing and the example that you set, more importantly. Because it's one thing to be able to talk about something, but the greatest thing that we can be is an example, right? An example is irrefutable. I could tell you something. You might believe it, right? But you'll be like, he just talking. But if I show you an example, it's irrefutable. You can't. Yes. It's an example, and I think you're an example of that as not only an entrepreneur but as a man. And I think that's important first. I gotta ask one last thing. I gotta ask. Is a book coming? A movie? What we gonna do? You gonna write a book? You gonna do a documentary? You gonna do a movie? How do you want to chronicle your journey? Or you feel like at this point it's still milestones you reaching, so you're not ready to chronicle your journey yet? What you thinking?
I see the book.
Yeah.
I see the movie.
Yeah.
I do see it in 10 years.
Okay.
It's this next 10 years are gonna be a big challenge I set out for myself.
Yeah.
For these 10 years, and I will tell the story 10 years from now.
Yeah.
I will release it. There will be a book, because when you write a book, you become immortal. Because now you're in this world.
That's real.
For forever.
That's real.
So the book has to happen.
That's real.
Because at this point,
the
I have to become...
The oldest form of storytelling is written literature.
And then What the Fuck is X will have a movie. Which it will tell, and I believe, if I'm correct, it will tell 10 stories.
Okay.
Yeah. You're one of them. I'm one of them.
For sure.
Jasmine's one of them.
Yeah.
Everybody has a piece to tell the world about how X was built.
Yeah.
And that will be released 10 years from now when we release the movie.
Right.
We'll all laugh about it, because we were like, man, this actually became true.
Yeah. Visualize.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
But no, I'm super excited about X Entertainment. I'm super excited about X Media.
Mm-hmm.
X the sports division.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have some really
no
good
stone left unturned.
Yeah.
It's so much that I know about that it ain't ready for the world.
No,
I get it. I understand.
The world. Yeah, no, I can't even speak about that. But you will see X Entertainment, X Sport Division.
Mm-hmm.
With the NFL. It's just a matter of time before that happens, because we have a lot of good things set in places that we're working with.
Right.
And that we're super, super excited for it to come.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate y'all for rocking with us. This is Icons and Ideas. It's been a great episode. I hope you definitely learned a lot from Edwin and his story, and just I appreciate you for coming, just being transparent, being vulnerable. Giving the world something to kind of chew on, that food for thought. It's been a great experience for me, and I'm gonna be right back at you. This is just episode 2. I got more to come. I want to introduce you to new people, new ideas, new thoughts, and that's my goal. One of my goals is just to impact and change a school of thought. And really be a catalyst for that. And I always talk about the Jim Carrey quote that says, how you make people feel is the most valuable currency there is. Yes. So I feel like if I can be instrumental in changing a mind and ultimately changing a heart, I did my job. So I appreciate y'all for rocking with us. Edwin, I appreciate you for coming through as always.
Yes, sir.
You can follow me at Nellz. That's KAYNELLZ on all platforms. Follow Edwin. It's Edwin Abreu on Facebook. EDWIN. Last name Abreu. That's ABREU.
Yep, that's right.
And just get familiar with the X brand. Hashtag what the F is X. So WTF is X, just like that. Hashtag it, follow the hashtag, see all of the things that's going on, follow the people involved with it, because it is a lot of moving parts. It's a lot of great things that's happening, and I'm just happy that I get to see it from baby to exactly to the growth that I know that you have planned for it. So.
Oh man, it's gonna be mind blowing.
Yeah,
the people that are the head minds that are in charge of it, they're going to take it to another level, because the people that are set up in place to really impact the world, to change the way that we look at it, I believe and I trust them a lot, because their talent has blown my mind away. They have that creativity and that talent side of it that I don't have. Right. I have the structure side of it and the formula to make it work. They have the vision from like you said, like the merch, just the stuff they come up with. I mean, we have a great team that's creative, and it's mind-blowing creative. Which it's really exciting for us to see, for sure. My structure, my side of the boring side, like I call it, to the side of what they're doing with it. It's really like, it's really heart touching, and it's going to do amazing things. I believe it.
Sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I believe in it too. Follow all of us. Get familiar. It's been another episode. We appreciate you. Have a great one.